Okay, you are looking live. We are without a technical director tonight, so it is a completely different show tonight. We got backgrounds. There you go, man. That was good. That was good. It's a completely different show tonight. But we've done our best and we'll just try to keep rolling with it, right?
We're playing with a backup quarterback today, Grand Schwabini.
That's exactly right. It's a backup quarterback, and that's what the your Philadelphia Eagles had to deal with yesterday, Rube. And that whole thing was just a mess, wasn't it?
It was a really peculiar game. And usually you have one or two of these a year that go your way, and you have one or two that don't go your way. And this one obviously didn't go our way. Listen, if I would have told you that the opposing team would have had 5 turnovers, that Saquon would run for 150 yards and a touchdown, um, that Jake the Make would hit clutch kicks, you'd be like, oh, we'll win by 2 touchdowns. But that just didn't happen. And unfortunately, it was a tough beat. Now, I think Pickett did an okay job aside from the one interception, which he was clearly fooled on. I think he did a good job. I think they mixed up the run and the pass. I think he made the ball available for our guys to catch. And listen, at the end of the day, with all of that, if an all-pro like Devontae Smith catches the pass, we're having a totally different discussion today. So
I know.
it was a toughie, but I think we lick our wounds and we move on, and we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Otherwise, what say you, Gran Schwabini?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was a really frustrating game because the first part of it is, look, I understand that we're supposed to be sensitive people, and Jalen got knocked around, and I'm sure he did have a concussion because I guess he was diagnosed with it. But I'll tell you what, man, the guy got up right away and was like, "Thumbs up, I'm ready to roll." That's just a situation where if we were playing football years ago, we wouldn't have had an issue yesterday. He just would have kept playing. And yeah, and I mean, for every Tua out there, I mean, I'm sure Tom Brady's played with like 25 concussions over the years. You know what I mean? Now, I know that's not a nice thing to say. We should be worried about, folks and their head injuries. But to me, it didn't look like it was that bad. Now, I'm no doctor, so I can't really diagnose a concussion. But the concussions to me that seem really bad are the ones where the guy's just like totally blanked out. Where they get up and they hobble. This just kind of seemed to be like a hit that wasn't really that hard. And he got up and he gave a thumbs up, and on the sideline, he's saying, "Everybody, I'm ready to go back in." I don't know, man. I just, it just sort of like it took away from the game. Like now, like if that happens to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, do you think he's taken out of the game?
I would hope so, to be honest with you. I would hope for their own sake that the league protects them from themselves. And I did grow up with some sensitivity, so I don't know what happened in Lois and Neil's house, but in Rhoda and Stan's house, we say, you know what? Despite that, we should have won the game. We had the game in our grasps. I don't think you send the guy back in if there's any sense or even anything close to a concussion, and because
Mhm.
I want him for the long term, not just the short term.
Right.
So maybe this one was just we needed to take a loss, we needed the streak to end before we got into the playoffs, and we learned some lessons from this and we move on. I think the question for me is, does he play next week? And for the most part, with the exception of Ertz yesterday,
Hmm.
Most guys in the NFL who have had a concussion and have been in the protocol have been out at least a week. So, so let's start thinking about next week. Does he play? And if he doesn't play, what do we do? And then, gosh, what if Pickett has broken ribs? Then what do we do? I so
Well,
my feeling, kind of closing the loop on that conversation, is, hey, the guy's got a concussion. He's got a concussion. I assume it has to be uh, standard for everyone to go through that.
mhm.
Um, what do we need to do to win and to win the division? What if he doesn't come back? What if he doesn't come back at all until the playoffs? Do you think we can still win the division?
Well, here's what I think. And rightly so. You're sort of painting a picture of, something went wrong in my family's house. Um, but what it really comes down to, part of the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying
Mhm.
is, the reports that I heard was he was walking around in the locker room yesterday telling everybody he's fine. Apparently, he said to everybody he was fine today and expects to play.
Okay.
And I know part of that is maybe that he wants to, but I honestly think he's fine. So I think he is going to play. Now, if he doesn't play, can they win a game with Kenny Pickett? They can. I mean, it's a backup quarterback battle. So, if we're playing with Jalen Hurts, we're going to win next week. If we're playing with Kenny Pickett, it's probably a toss up, maybe because we're playing at home. I'd give, us maybe a 60-40 chance of winning, right?
Hmm.
Um, I think no matter who you have, I think if Tanner McKee starts, you beat the Giants.
You would
Uh,
hope. You would hope.
if you have to, because they're just so dreadful.
Yeah. But you
Um,
saw what happened without Hurts in the game, right? What did All of a sudden they stack the box, and instead of running for 9 yards a carry, Saquon ran for 2 yards a carry.
True.
Um, and even with all of that, honestly, even with all of that, we should have won the game yesterday. By all accounts, we should have won the game yesterday. And you got to give what's his name, Daniels, credit. He looks
Sure.
like he looks like the real deal. He was unflappable after turnovers. We couldn't stop him on 4th and 11.
Mhm.
Hurts being in the game doesn't solve that problem. We couldn't stop him on the last drive.
Well, it, it
Uh,
does it does stop that problem because he doesn't get as many opportunities if Hurts
maybe,
is in the game. You
maybe
know,
we had some long drives.
we had a lot of 3 and outs though with Kenny.
Well, you saw the third quarter, right? The third quarter, we went on one of those long drives. I'm like, man, it's too early to be going on the one where the drive where they had like 3 pass interferences, right? That was our best offense in the second half, was Lattimore, their defensive back.
I'll tell you
Um,
what, man, I used to think really highly of Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, how bad was he yesterday?
yeah,
I
and
mean, he couldn't cover him for his life.
yeah,
I mean, he
but
was he was just dreadful.
but at the end of the day, to me, it's still yesterday magnified a couple of points. Number one is um, we need Hurts, no doubt
Right.
about it. He makes the offense go. I get it.
Does
Um,
it make you feel better about Hurts, how we played
I don't know
yesterday?
if it makes me feel better or worse. Listen, he's a starting quarterback that makes millions and millions of dollars. We should feel better when he's in there, and there should be a drop off when the backup quarterback comes in. I didn't think the drop off was that bad. Like I said, I think Pickett exonerated himself pretty well. Aside from one throw. But here's the thing that didn't change between Hurts and Pickett. They're throwing to 2 receivers, and that's really about it. We're still not throwing screens um, to running backs. We couldn't find a tight end or a third receiver yesterday. Again, Dotson is a nothing, um, and without Goddard in there, we're really limited at tight end. So it's
Well,
really,
yeah,
if
and
if I'm
Calcaterra, I mean, he really struggled blocking yesterday.
oh my God, how many times did we see someone blowing by him yesterday?
Yeah.
So didn't catch the ball, didn't block well. And if I'm Washington, who's got a defensive coordinator as a coach in Quinn, all right, load the
Yeah.
box and make Pickett beat you and defend Devontae and AJ the best he can. And that's exactly what they did.
Well, let me ask
So,
you this.
yeah.
I got a question for you.
Hmm.
And this is, who is most to blame for this loss yesterday? And I'm going to give you a couple of choices. Okay.
I already have my answer, Mark.
Okay, go ahead then. Just tell me who
Your
you
boy
think.
CJ or whatever his initials are
Yeah,
is a stupid idiot. We're a different team without him on the field, and we could see it. I don't know if everything would have gone differently in those last couple of drives, but to me, why I get the intensity, I get the smack talk
right.
but why take yourself out of the game when you're already missing your MVP? And to me, that's who's to blame for this loss.
Well, and the other thing is, you know, first of all, though, have you ever seen anybody get thrown out for 2 tauntings?
No, that must mean it was really bad. To be
I mean,
honest with you, how about when the guy pushed his helmet off and
right,
the referee is like, you probably deserve that. That's what I was hearing in my head. Like,
right,
you said something that badly, didn't throw a swing, and you get the penalty. Gosh, I can't even imagine what he would have said.
right. And to be honest, to be fair, the Eagles got away with that last week when Washington took Slay into the stands, and then Quinyon Mitchell threw a punch and didn't get a flag. And this was like the same thing, but my God, it was right in front of the guy's face, and you're right. He pointed his finger like he was saying, "Hey, you deserve that." Like, what the hell's that? It's still supposed to offset,
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
it must have been pretty bad. And I guess when you have a reputation like that and the guy clearly has heard it, they're looking for it. It's just like the Jalen Carter stupid
Right,
roughing the quarterback. Come on.
right,
To me, forget about the concussion argument. I get it. These guys are being protected from themselves, but I think that's a little bit ridiculous. He didn't even touch the quarterback. It was like he might have shoved that guy a little and it was an offensive lineman or whatever. And so I think we're getting a bit of a reputation, which isn't going to help us in the
right.
long run.
And you know what's interesting? Like Ray Didinger, who I love and respect, and I listen to everything that he has to say.
Hmm.
And he's kind of getting to the point that you're getting at, where they've got their eyes open on Jalen Carter. Like they're looking to call that. But what he says as well is, if they're looking at him so closely, why are they not calling any holding calls against him? You know? I
Yeah.
mean, it's ridiculous. It seems like he gets held on every play. Of course, you can't call it on every play, but he certainly has done enough where he should probably get a call or two a game,
Yeah.
and it never happens.
But it's kind of like you said. I think everything evens out by the end of the year. You're gonna get some calls. You're gonna lose some calls. But I don't say I don't think the referees are to blame for us losing that game. What do you think? What do you? I haven't listened to any sports radio today on purpose.
No,
Because it's painful on Monday loss
right,
days,
right.
and B, I didn't want it to cloud my opinion because I had some pretty strong opinions coming out of the game. What do you think? Who do you think is to
Well,
blame?
I'm going to give it to two people. I'm going to give it number one to CJGJ. Um, and just talking from a strictly football kind of technical standpoint,
Hmm.
like it was pretty clear to me that you could see numerous plays. Eagles defenders didn't know where they were supposed to be with him off the field. And that really never happens. I see like a lot of really good communication, people saying, on the last play where Washington scored with 6 seconds left, Nakobe Dean and Tristan McCollum were looking at each other like they were, when the ball was snapped. You had the play where Slay runs onto the field, then he runs off the field, and then it was basically nobody covered Zacchaeus, And then, of course, it was Ringo was out there for one play and he missed the tackle, and then Tristan McCollum missed the tackle. I mean, it was just like,
It was a
you
comedy
know,
of errors.
they were lost without him directing the back end. So, and yeah, and again, just so stupid. I mean, I also think too, like, you gotta you gotta come down a little bit on the coaching staff. I mean, granted, the player is the one who is most stupid, but at the same time, look, somebody's got to be in his head and just said, "Hey, look, man, you got one. You can't chirp the rest of the game."
My
You know?
guess is that they probably did. I struggle with coming down on the coaching staff. Man, they
Yeah.
teach these guys to be intense and do whatever and play up until that line. I honestly, if I can not be Negadelphia for a second, I'll be positive. Listen, I think the who's to blame is Jayden Daniels. I think he played a hell of a game. I think he is more to blame than anything else, to be honest. They beat us. They came back despite everything else and whipped us in the second half, and he made great plays. So I think we give him credit and we move on.
Well, I'm not going to give him that much credit. No. Okay, I'll give you my other uh, blame ball, if we'll
Okay.
call
All right.
it. Okay. Um, the kickoff coverage and the kickoffs themselves. I mean, my gosh, they started that last drive like at the 45. I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, I've seen Jake Elliott kick in 0 degrees and kick it into the end zone. Why the hell was this man barely getting it to the 10? And, then beyond that, there was just not much effort on, on the tackling. Um, I felt like there should have been like maybe a change mid-game if something was going on there. But my God, the kickoff coverage was horrible. I mean,
Yeah,
we gave
it
them a
was bad.
short field every time we kicked it off to them.
Yeah, it was bad. Now, some of that, I don't know if I didn't really pay close enough attention to the Washington kickoffs,
Mhm.
but in cold weather, the ball does tend to not go as far. Um, And to your point, if you've seen Jake kick it out of the end zone in cold weather, then yeah, there's a problem there. Maybe it was strategic. Maybe they purposely kicked it short. I don't know, but if that was the strategy, it certainly did backfire. I agree. It wasn't good. But I think the rest of the special teams were fine. It was good to see Jake hit some clutch kicks.
Yeah, that
Um,
was
I,
true.
I think that makes me feel better going into the rest of the season and into the playoffs. I was a little nervous about that. Um, so, again, I think that when's the last time the defense gave up 36 points?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this though. And this actually goes to something that I have kind of poo-pooed the whole year, but you have sort of brought up delicately in the background. Is Jake Elliott playing injured this year? I'm telling you, because, first of all, I have no idea. To me, there is zero reason at all for Braden Mann to have suddenly just taken over the kickoff duties. I mean, if Jake Elliott was kicking last year with no problem, why would you replace him? It makes no sense. So that has me confused. And then if you just sort of think about how, like last year, I think he was 8 of 9 from 50 yards. And then this year, until he hit one, he was like 0 for 9. There might be something there. I wonder if he is a little hurt.
Yeah, something's definitely weird. My first thought was that the first thought's always to blame the coach, right? Which I just don't, I can't do in this case with Sirianni or whomever. Was he trying to protect him because he was hurt for going all those fourth downs? And this is one of those, we keep all
Mhm.
that stuff in house and we're not going to say it.
Right.
Is there something that maybe that he saw in practice that he lost confidence in Jake Elliott? I don't know, but clearly something was up. And him not getting the opportunity to get into a rhythm, like all other positions and all other sports, you have to be in a rhythm.
Right.
And we just didn't give him the chance. The coaches didn't give him a chance to get into rhythm with kicking easy field goals. He was
Right.
brought on in desperate situations for more than 50 yards. And so it's either they lost confidence in him or he is hurt. And I really want to believe that it's more the hurt than it is they lost confidence in him. I don't think things change that dramatically year over year with someone that good.
I
So I
mean,
think there may be something to it.
maybe he had a better week kicking and finally hit one over 50 yards because maybe he's starting to heal up.
Could be.
Maybe he's actually getting healthier. But yeah, one other thing though, I think we do have to address is, again, sure, Devontae Smith catches that ball, the game is over. But at the same time, here we go again. I mean, this is the second time this year that, an offense has just walked down the field with less than 2 minutes. So one of the things that concerns me, I mean, obviously the defense is better than it's probably ever been at this point. But at the same time, one of the things they kind of do lack is the closer. Like they lack the Hassan Reddick, I'm going to sack the quarterback and get the fumble and the game's over. I mean, even though we're getting a lot of sacks and we're getting, good pressure from Nolan Smith and Sweat and, Milton Williams and Jalen Carter, it's like we don't have a dominator though.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a double-digit sack guy. I mean, maybe Sweat will get there because he's got 8, but we don't really have that killer for that to end that last drive. And I wonder, to me, it makes it very nerve-wracking if we're in a close playoff game and the other team's got the ball with little time remaining.
Yeah, I would agree. That you're exactly right. The Atlanta game and this game were gut wrenching, and I don't know if that's scheme or if that's um, ability. But you're exactly right. There's no Fletcher Cox to take over the game. There's no, like you said, Hassan Reddick to get a big sack like he's done the past couple of years. Um, I don't know who that closer is. It certainly didn't help that we didn't have one of our leaders on defense on the field either. Um, I don't know if it's a different situation with CJ on the field or not. But at the end of the day, I mean, listen, even Quinion got beat yesterday.
Yeah, for the first time all year.
Yeah. Terry Mack, that wasn't even close. So I just I want to chalk it up to a peculiar, weird game where hopefully we learn some valuable lessons. And GJ being one of them, and maybe Fangio and the defense, they need to take a different approach to the 2-minute defense.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if there's a silver lining in this, what you hope is that, let's say we didn't lose and we won out. We're going into the playoffs just completely overconfident.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're just going to roll over anybody.
Yeah.
And I think this game let us know that anybody in the playoffs can beat us.
And you know damn well Dallas wants to come in next week and spoil us, right? They're actually on a little bit of a winning streak. They're out of the playoffs. I think they want to come into our building and they want to embarrass us. And listen, if it's Pickett versus Cooper Rush, it's anybody's game.
True.
I do. The other thing I really hope, I said it earlier, I really hope is we need to find a third receiving option. I don't know when Goddard's supposed to come back or if he's supposed to come back in the regular season, but man, if it's not Dotson and it's not Calcaterra, can we try somebody else, anybody else to attempt a pass to? We're making it very, very easy for teams to scheme against us. And that makes me nervous, especially as we go into the playoffs.
Well, it should be Saquon. It should be Kenny Gainwell on screens.
Yeah.
That's what it should be. And there were there were also like Saquon had a bad drop yesterday.
Yeah.
AJ even had a bad drop yesterday. There was just like, it's unbelievable how many things went wrong for them just to lose with 6 seconds left. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the same time, they gifted us 5 turnovers.
I
I mean,
know.
come
I
on, you got
know.
to win that game. All
I
right,
know.
Schwabi, listen,
All right.
here's a couple of buy or sells for you, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
All right, buy or sell. Saquon, 13 rushing touchdowns. Jalen, 14 rushing touchdowns. Saquon overtakes Jalen for the rushing title on the Philadelphia Eagles in the regular season. Buy or sell?
I'm buying.
You're buying. You're
Yeah, because I
sticking
don't.
with Saquon.
I don't think they're gonna fool around with Jalen on tush pushes now that he's coming off a concussion.
All right. Okay, next one. Currently tied at 6. Devontae and AJ for receiving touchdowns. Devontae ends the regular season with more receiving touchdowns than AJ. Buy or sell?
I am selling. I think AJ Brown will beat him.
Okay. All right. Duly noted. All right. Should we move on and start talking a little bit of Sixers or Flyers or maybe some Philly free agent signings?
Let's do it.
All
The
right.
Phillies are making some moves. So they
Boy,
got a
man.
few, brought a few people in. Let's take them one at a time, and we'll get your thoughts. So the big one is Jesus
Jesus.
from Miami. What is it, Jesus Lazardo?
Yep. That sounds right.
Okay, look, I'll be honest. I mean, I heard of him probably only because he's pitched against the Phillies.
Yeah.
Really have never had my eye on him intently. I do understand at one point in time he was considered the number one prospect in all of baseball. Apparently he's got pretty electric stuff, and they say that if he's right, he could be like a number 2 type pitcher. So look, coming off of an injury from last year, but the year before he was really good. So I like the move. I mean, it seems like it's, I mean, the bottom line is worst case scenario, he's your 5th starter. And boy, did we need a 5th starter last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, listen, lefty. Um, he is coming off a bad year. I'm just looking at some of his stats. His only full season of health, he was 10-10 with the 3.58, striking out 208 batters.
That's
Tommy
on a
Ser
horrible team
that
too.
that's not terrible. Um, but it looks like he had some back issues and some other issues. When I think about the signings, I'm thinking it's like we're out there on a tiny budget. We're already over like the max. We're now over like the max luxury tax, and Dombrowski is trying to pull some rabbits out of his hat. So listen, why not take a shot at it? We don't if you don't think that Painter is going to be your 5th starter right away, and they're going to try to ease him in, you couldn't go with Taiwan Walker. So
Right.
good for us for going and trying to find um, some gold out there. And he's 27, so he's still fairly young when it comes to starting pitchers. And so I say good. It's a good move. Um, right. I think everyone's waiting for the big move to happen. I don't think we're going to see it. Right. I think we all kind of
Well,
understand that.
here, here's where I think it still has a possibility. Now that you've got Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, Lazardo, Painter, who did I not include in that 5?
Ranger
Suarez.
Suarez. Yeah.
Ranger Suarez was not given the big contract while Christopher Sanchez was.
Mm-hmm.
And Ranger is a free agent at the end of the year. So they have no control over him. And he just signed Scott Boras as his agent, which means it's going to cost a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, what I'm thinking is they thought that there would be a bigger market for Bohm. And maybe what they're trying to do is fit Ranger into a Bohm trade to get a big, significant bat.
Could be. Could
Could
be.
be. Could be.
I'm okay with Ranger pitching for his paycheck this year. think if anything, it makes him that much more determined to pitch well, and we'll see if he can go full season. Who's going to pay him hundreds of millions of dollars if 3 seasons in a row he can't go the full season?
Right.
So I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And your theory could be right. You package Bohm and Suarez, and maybe you get a big bat. I don't know. We'll see.
No, what do you think about the Max Kepler signing?
It's another outfielder who are expecting to. He's a. I don't know much about him, but he's a home run hitter, right? He's a power hitter.
Right.
Man, do we need another power hitter?
And a lefty.
Okay, and another lefty? That's right.
Apparently he's a like A++ outfielder as well.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's good.
Like
So is he a left fielder?
yeah, like his WAR is always really high because he makes a lot of outs from the outfield. Well, no, actually he's a right fielder. But I think that they feel like he could play left. Or if that's not the case, then I guess they would move Castellanos to left. But I don't know. He's another one of these guys where it's like, okay, it's like you pick him up after the down years, he can come back and have a huge year or not. Who knows?
Insert player X at the end of that comment,
Right.
Schwabini. So
Right.
what we picked up on? You see, we picked another guy up today. What's the
Yeah,
guy's
another
name?
pitcher,
Another
Joe
pitcher.
Ross,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
also adds to my Ranger Suarez idea.
Well, he's a swing pitcher, right? Because he's going to be
Mhm.
like this year's Turnbull. I don't know
Right,
if we're going to
exactly.
re-sign Turnbull, but I think that's what they're hoping for with this guy. He can pitch in the bullpen or he could start if needed.
Exactly. Exactly. So, hey, look, at least there's some movement, right? But we'll
Yeah.
see.
Here's the other thing. I think I saw that Hoffman is getting picked up by the Red Sox.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's all but done.
Mm.
Philly's underrated star predicted to sign $36 million deal with the Red Sox. Philly stunned
I
as
would
Red
have
Sox snatch up Hoffman.
I would have kept Hoffman. I think like it was just a very rare. I mean, the guy was basically great for 2 years,
Yeah,
and he had a bad couple games in the playoffs, and now we just get rid of him. I don't
yeah.
think that was very sensible.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that to me. When I heard Hoffman was coming into the game, like you said, with the exception of of the playoffs, I was like, oh, okay, we're in good shape. He or Strom or whomever,
Mhm.
I felt good.
Yeah,
I
me
I
too.
don't know. I don't know who's going to play those roles this year,
Right.
because probably not going to sign Estevez if they haven't lost him already. So I don't know
Yeah.
who plays that role for us this
Well,
year.
that was also another thing that I was listening to a little baseball talk today
Hmm.
was the idea of, believe it or not, of them packaging Ranger and Bohm for a back end reliever. Like maybe the guy from the A's.
That would be worth it.
Yeah. So okay, so let's move on quickly. Not a heck of a lot to talk about here, but Mitchy Poo hits his first slump. He hasn't had a point in several games.
I've been watching the beauty of having ESPN Plus, which I don't know where that came from, but you can see all the out of market games.
Hmm.
And so, given that I've been on a little bit of bed rest over the past couple of weeks, it's been nice to watch. So, to me, what game were we watching the other night? They were playing the Kings, and Leslie Rubenstein even said it. She goes, "I haven't heard Michkov's name the whole game." I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, I haven't either. I hear Forster, right? He had a nice little
Hmm.
game,
Hmm.
but yeah, he was really nothing against the Red Wings in either one of those two games. I didn't see the Blue Jacket game that somehow we miraculously came back and won. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's listen. He's 20 years old. He's gonna hit a little bit of a slump.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what I'm not pleased about? I felt like he had a huge amount of success playing with Konechny, and I feel like he's not playing with Konechny anymore.
is he not on the same line with them anymore?
No, like you know what? I'll tell you who I can't stand. is Joel Farabee.
Ugh.
I
What does
feel
he
like
give us?
Farabee I feel like Farabee is one of those guys who, like, he was a first round pick, and the first year he came up, it was like, hey, this dude's good. And God, man, he just has like no offensive skill.
Nah, he doesn't make me, if I'm the opposing team, Farabee and Frost, and I don't know, you could probably name all these other Hextall deals gone bad. Um, they don't scare me, right?
No.
Konechny scares me,
Mhm.
Michkov scares me, Forster, okay, we'll see what he's
Tippett.
got. Tippett finally broke through the other night, but he hasn't been
Yeah.
having a great season. Besides
But yeah,
that, is there anybody in our lineup that scares you?
no, but that's the point. Like you can't play Farabee on the top line.
Yeah,
You
I think
know, I would also kind of argue you really shouldn't play Frost on a top line. You know, third line, okay, but I don't know, man. Like I feel like Torts likes his fourth line better than his second or third line. You know, he loves
well,
putting Paling and Hathaway out there, you know.
to mix it up.
Right. But here's the big problem with the Flyers, man. My God, their goaltending is just wretched.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't hold a lead for their life. I
We
mean,
are
you
giving
got to
up
have a
4 goals.
you got to have a 3-goal lead with like 10 minutes left and you're barely safe.
Yeah, I was reading an article before the season, which, you don't really pay attention to during the season, but when you look at the stats don't lie. And I wonder what it's like this season. And what they were saying is that the Flyers did a really good job last year with puck control. So we would hold on to the puck, would be in the offensive zone. We wouldn't be sitting in our end of the ice very long. And that's how we won some games last year. And this year, it just seems completely opposite. When I watch the games and I'm looking at it from that lens, it never feels like we have sustained control of the puck. So, regardless of whether you have Patrick Waugh in net or you have one of the Obs or whomever, I don't think we're putting ourselves in a good position defensively.
No,
It just kind of feels like we're always holding on. And you look at our goals against, 4 goals, we're 3.61 goals
I
against,
know.
which
Yeah,
is just
you
ridiculously
can't
bad.
expect to score 4 goals every game.
Not with the guys we just shouted out, right?
Right. If you think about it, it's kind of a miracle that they're like 500.
100%. So
I
we'll
mean,
see. We'll see against the who they play in Pittsburgh tonight. We'll
yeah.
we'll we'll see who the cream of the crop is, I suppose. But
But by the way, did you see the Red Wings game by any chance? Did you watch that one?
the one with Lawton, the one that Lawton scored 4 goals, or the one after that,
I think the
the
one
one we
after
lost.
that.
Okay, we lost.
Yeah, the one where there was a play, where I think it was who's our decent defenseman other than Sanheim?
Cam
York.
York. Yeah,
York.
yeah.
I think York like whiffed on one, and there was a 3-on-0 coming the other way.
Oh,
Did you see that?
I didn't see that. I
It
might
was a
I might have
3
turned that
on
one off.
it was a 3-on-0. Like, how's that even happen? How's that possible? It was insane. But anyway, we will see. Now, question for you. Do we want to skip the Sixers?
I mean, I think we can put the numbers up, right? What do we say?
I think we got 3 games with the big 3.
4. I think we got 4
4.
with the big 3.
Okay. All right.
So the question,
I think
listen,
Embiid's expected to play tonight.
Embiid versus Wemby. We'll see. Are all three? But Maxey, I think, is supposed to be out now. He had like an illness, so I
Seriously.
I don't know if all three of them are going to play. Yeah, listen, I have a hard time talking about the Sixers, as you know. My standard answer is wake me in April. Um, but like, listen, if we can get all three of these guys on the court, yeah, there you go. We're on the same wavelength, Grant Schwabini. Yeah, I if we can get all three sustained and in rhythm again,
Mhm.
think we could do some damage. I would really like to think that we could, but it just comes down to, is it ever going to happen?
Right.
Are all
It
three
would
of these guys going to ever play, at the same
it
time?
would it would be nice though if like somehow they all got healthy for like the stretch run and they went like 15-3 in the last 18 and going into the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but do you still think, even with that, let's play this forward. Do you
Yeah.
still think they have a chance against the Celtics, the Cavs, or the Knicks?
Mm, maybe, maybe. I mean, it all depends.
I guess it can
Um,
depend on who gets hot at the right time, I suppose, but
I mean, the way I sort of look at it is, I feel like I feel like this is a very down period in the NBA. Like for a while, it was like, um, obviously it was Michael Jordan and the Bulls were dominant, you know, and then it was the Warriors were the next dynasty, you
mhm,
know, and then there was kind of like every team that LeBron was on was always had a really good chance.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I just feel like I don't really feel like there is a great team. Like I look, I acknowledge the Celtics are the best team, but I mean, I don't think they're anything special. I mean, I think they got like two, like, like A- all stars, and Tatum and Brown.
But they're well coached. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they were A minus. I mean, these guys have proven that they're consistently good. Their team it meshes well. They're well coached. They play well together. They needed to do some subtraction, and with Marcus Smart, and and switch the team up a little bit, that they tweaked it. I think they're built really well, and I think they have really good players, and they play, and they show up, right? Half the battle is just show up and play. And if
That's
you can play
true.
really good like they do, they're going to be in it.
Good.
Same thing with Denver, right? I don't know much about them, but Jokic is probably on pace for, what, another MVP season. You can't
Mhm.
you can't count him out. He's a lot of fun to watch. But
Now, Rube, I got a surprise for you this week.
oh, I like
I got
surprises.
I
Hit
got
me.
one last category here.
Hit me.
All right.
I like it. Thank you.
College football playoffs thoughts so far. I have some, but you want to
Yeah.
start?
Well, number one is my beloved Tennessee Volunteers got whipped.
Mhm.
No great surprise playing at Ohio State, coming off a bad loss, against Michigan. Um, but the rest of it's been pretty disappointing. You
Yeah,
can
let's
you
talk about how bad have these games been.
Pretty bad.
And
Pretty bad.
so I think it's sending a clear message that if you don't have a strong strength of schedule, leave them out. Leave them out. Put Alabama in. We didn't need to watch this joke of a team play against Penn State. I mean, my God, Penn State was like horrendous in that game. And you wouldn't even know it because, that Jennings just kept on throwing the ball to linebackers. I mean, it was insanity. They were
Yeah,
so bad.
yeah. You
And and
know,
and
Ole
a
Miss
lot
is
of them
gonna
were so bad.
Yeah, and Indiana clearly, they were very overrated. Um, but what do you do, right? You got to SMU, weren't they? Didn't they win the ACC, or weren't
Yeah,
they
I
in
mean,
the
look,
championship game or whatever?
well, they
You
look,
know,
they went 11-2, and they just barely lost to Clemson,
to
who
Clemson.
won that game. Clemson, I think, was like the only team that sort of at least saved face in the game. They weren't completely obliterated.
Yeah, they were.
Um,
I think there were some late scores there against Texas, here in Austin, Texas.
yeah. So,
Um, but it should
but
be the next round should be good. But listen, if you go just sheerly on strength of schedule, it's essentially the SEC, right?
right,
Because Ole Miss will have the same argument to be like, hey, we lost 3 games or whatever, but look at who we lost to. And you want to go play against Kiffin's team in the playoff? I think the answer is no. You don't want to play against those teams. I don't know how much of it was cold weather based too. A lot of the games were in cold weather against southern teams, so maybe that played a part into it. But I don't know how you solve the problem. I You can't just put Alabama in every year because they're Alabama.
Well, no, but look, but there's a clear reason to put Alabama in. It was Alabama had 3 losses, but I believe they had 5 wins against top 10 teams, whereas SMU had 0. And like SMU's best win was against Michigan, who had a down year.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what
I
I
mean, I
mean?
think you could argue a couple of them,
Yeah.
for sure. But we'll see. The cream will rise to the top as it normally does, and hopefully this weekend's games are a lot better. But yeah, those were really disappointing games, including my Volunteers. I was embarrassed. So,
Yeah, it
um,
was it was brutal because I mean, I was sitting here and it was what was it, Saturday, right?
mhm,
And we had NFL football on Saturday.
yeah,
And then you have the playoff games too. I was like, oh, we got Penn State at noon, we got the Steelers and the Ravens at 4, and we got Ohio State at 8. And I mean, like, the only game that was any good was the NFL game.
yeah. There were some yawners of games for sure.
Yeah.
And I hate to see someone like Notre Dame, roll like they did. But who did they? Yeah, they played Indiana. That was a no contest.
Right. That was
Um,
no contest. It was
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. So what do? You think you go strength of schedule, or do you think there's too many teams in, and you maybe back it down to 8? They're never going to do that,
Well,
but
they're never going to do that. Yeah. No, I think you got to go strength of schedule. I mean, I think um unfortunately, I think it's just got to be one of those things. It's got to be similar to like the NCAA tournament for a team like SMU. Like, you have to beat Clemson or you're not in,
yeah,
no matter how good your record is. Like, you have to win your championship,
yeah.
you know?
Based on your strength of schedule, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And that's the thing that, and I heard Nick Saban talking about this, and he's just like, look, if you don't emphasize strength of schedule, then if I'm Alabama, why am I scheduling good games? You
well,
know?
they have no choice on a lot of those, but
Right,
for the out of conference games, I would agree 100%.
right,
So yeah, I hope. Listen, it's year one. Anything in year one is going to be up for criticism, and it's not going to be perfect. It'll get better. Um, and it probably the best thing to happen was for what happened to have happened.
right,
So the committee understands that there's going to have to be an emphasis, and we can point to the first weekend, the first 4 games as pretty much evidence of that.
right,
So
exactly.
yeah, otherwise
Yeah,
they're going to be paying a lot of money to sponsors, and people are turning the game off halfway through. So
mhm,
it's all about
mhm.
money. But I like the questions. Thanks for bringing college football in, Grand Schwabini. That makes me happy.
Hey, well, I always watch when it gets down to the playoffs,
Yeah.
and I'm always a little bit more watching just to see if there's anybody who I might like for our Philadelphia Eagles.
I would like Tyler Warren. I'd like to see him in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform. I'll tell you what.
Interesting thing. Now, wait, he's the tight end for Penn State, right?
Yep.
It, it, does he sort of seem like he has a weird football body?
You mean small?
Yeah, like he's short and stocky.
I don't know. I don't know his measurements, but I tell you what, all the guy does is produce, and they got nothing else. They got no one else to throw the ball to there. So,
Yeah.
so the whole world, the defense plans for him, and yet he still does amazing things. So to me,
Well,
that's he's a winner. So who cares? Who cares how
mhm.
big he is?
Well, it is an obvious need for the Eagles because Dallas Goedert can't stay healthy.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
I'd like
yeah,
to see. I'd like to see us figure out who our next tight end is going to be.
I can almost guarantee you the Eagles' first 2 picks next year.
Yeah.
First round pick will be an edge rusher,
Okay.
and second round pick will be a tight end. Do we have 2 first rounders next year?
I don't know. I don't know what we've got coming this
But
coming
it's
year.
definitely going to be an edge rusher in the first round. and it's definitely going to be a tight end in the second. I guarantee it.
Yeah. We need to address both for sure. Very
Well,
good.
any other thoughts before we wind down this episode?
I'd like to wish our listeners a very happy holiday season, a very happy and healthy new year, and looking forward to great things with the Sports Porch as we go into 2025.
Yes, again, apologies for the limited visual presentation this evening, but we managed through it as best as we could. We wanted to be here for you, the listener, for you, the fan. We felt it was more important to put on a show for our loyal audience, and we did it for you because you make the show possible.
We love
All
you.
right, that's all I got, Rube.
Thank you. Hey,
Right.
happy holidays, Grand Schwabini. Happy New Year, and we'll talk soon.
You as well, and go Birds.
Go Birds.